Well, we're going to have some decisions to make, 41, 49, 57. Those three weights are going to be dicey.
Anybody reach out to Iowa State athletes to be like, hey, come over here, we got money?
There was some very surprising people and surprising dollar offers that David was thrown, like, within 5 days, which
Six
blew
figures?
my mind. Oh,
Big story for Iowa State this past offseason was landing Cody Chittam.
I almost felt like he recruited us as much as we recruited him. You got to quit reading those message boards, dude.
All right, we are now in year 3. This is our third interview together, which seems pretty fast in the what? I guess we've been doing 3 years. We've been doing one a year.
Yeah, that's good.
It's been good. First time we did it in the van out in the parking lot. We finally got invited into the building, so we're making our way up. Last year, we about halfway. We were downstairs on the field.
That's right. You made it all the way to the second floor. I tell you, that first day was cold. I remember that day on the parking lot at Hilton.
Yeah, it was cold outside. It was like New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve. It was like an important holiday eve. And I remember it was so hot in there. It was cold outside, freezing. So
you had that thing crank.
Inside, it was cranking hot.
Oh, yeah, it was.
And our cameras, we had to shut it off for a minute and let them die down. But I think that was probably the best interview we probably ever did. So I appreciate you for doing it through all this time. We just got done with the practice. How did you feel like today went?
It was a good session. We've kind of got a unique thing going here because we basically have kind of thrown our guys back into wrestling camp mode. So we got all ages here. We got high school kids here that are paying to go to camp. And of course you got your team working, and then we got some post grads here. So it's just a good mix. We didn't really advertise camps really hard just because I want them to kind of all live off campus. So all of our campers are commuters, and I didn't want to fool with the dorms and the dining hall and stuff like that. So we obviously don't do it to make money. We do it just to give kids an opportunity to come in and train with us. And I thought, what a better way than just to throw them in a college mode for, a week or 10 days. And they can really bite off as much as they want to. They can come for 2 days. They can come for 2 weeks.
Are you impressed with the high school kids these days?
Yeah, the talent is incredible. These kids are just so talented coming out of high school. Obviously right now today, the best kids are all in Fargo probably. Just about. But we've got some kids that are still here. We had a lot more last week. We probably had 40 or 50 high school kids here last week.
Obviously, people are going to watch the video, and they're going to be looking around, see who's there, who's not there, try to get any information that they can, especially on this gambling stuff that has been thrown in the faces of Iowa schools only, it seems like at this point. So I guess we'll just clear the air right away. What can you tell the people about what's going on with that?
Well, I think...
Knock, knock. Who's there? Shh. Look. Let me tell you a little story about a man named Shh.
Even before you start, that was a preemptive shh. Just know I have a whole bag of shh with your name on it.
All right, let's talk wrestling now. We got that out of the way.
Got the gambling out of the way. That's good.
Clear the air a little bit on that. But what's your thoughts now in hindsight of last season? Now that we're it's pretty much wrapped, it's wrapped up now and going into 2023, 2024. So, what's your thoughts on last season? How'd it go?
Really mixed. I know we continue to make progress. If you look at just pure numbers, we've climbed every year and got better from the time we got hired. And I think we started out, when we got hired, we were 57th. We went to 45th, and now we finished at 11th this year. But that wasn't a good taste in our mouth in that, really we were, there were so many bunched up in the middle there. We were probably 2 matches away from being 5th, and we got 11th. And so that's how much you're splitting hairs at the end. You think about it, you wrestle for 3 days, and you're literally like 2 matches away from being top 5, and you lose those 2 matches and you're 11th. So that shows you how, just winning that last match on Saturday night would have moved us up to 7th. Just 1 match from 11th to 7th. So if you look at it from that perspective, we made a lot of progress. We won some great dual meets. We competed well. But, at the end of the day, we got to get in that podium, and we didn't do that. And so I hope that's a great experience for us. When you get that many guys that get beaten around at 12, you got to think that's a motivator for them. I hope it's a motivator for them. So, but, we're making progress, and, I'm super excited about this team. Every year I said this is going to be our best team, and it's come true. And I'm going to say this is going to be our best team since we've been at Iowa State. And let's hope it comes true, right?
Yeah, I believe it. I'll be there in the crowd. You could say that we were one younger Bastida, Michael Beard bad call away from being in the top 10. I felt like that was a pretty bad call.
We didn't get, sometimes you just don't get breaks, and we didn't get any breaks in that match. I mean, there's a couple, and that match throws him back into Saturday, and then you can score a bunch of points. And then you're knocking on fourth maybe or something, So, you can if and but your way all the way through the tournament. But you got to figure out, if you're dependent on that guy in the black and white, you're in trouble. And that's not saying anything bad about him, because that's a tough job. It really is a tough job. So it was a tough call. But if you leave it in control of, maybes, you're going to be in trouble.
Also, we have a lot of new faces in the room this year, a lot of kids transferring in, kids moving around. Can you tell us about some of the guys that you had come in this year, not recruits, but some of the transfers and kids that have left other schools to come to Iowa State? Tell us how that process went.
Well, yeah, it's just, it's evolved, and this year was crazier and literally the day after the NCAA tournament, your phone starts ringing and everybody's jockeying for position.
In what way?
Well, just hear this guy's leaving and that guy's leaving, and this guy's in the portal and that guy's in the portal, and so you have decisions to make. And the decisions to make in, number one, do you want to go after that guy? How does it impact your lineup? Number two, can you afford the guy, because that's real? And number three, what's it do to the chemistry of your team? So it's not a simple fix. Sometimes, but we entertain. I mean, whether everybody out there wants to, if you're not playing the portal game, everybody's playing the portal game. And if you're not playing the portal game, you're gonna get passed up and ran over. You're gonna get both. That's just the way it is right now. And 2 years ago, I think maybe the only All-American when the portal and NIL collided, which was 2 springs ago. I think Real Woods was the only guy. There was like a notable guy that went into the portal. That was an All-American. This year we had 10 All-Americans in the portal. And they were all like getting great collective offers. They're collectives from various schools, or the donor bases were giving these guys great opportunities. And so, it'll be interesting to see what happens next year. But this year, for the first time ever, man, we brought in 5-6 guys on official visits that, we're really already established in college wrestling.
What do you think that the NIL space is going to do to the RTC space?
Well, the RTC athletes, their street value just went in the toilet compared to what it was even 6 years ago when we got hired. The RTC guys were living fat then, and now all the spare dollars are going to the collectives, or the so-called collectives. I mean, we actually have a collective. But there's people out there that are, their donors are taking care of kids. It's changed the valuable guys now. The most valuable guys now are the guys at All-American. And the RTC guys' values, in terms of, when I say value, what they get paid.
In hindsight, if we're not saying that the RTC era is over. We obviously Iowa State's got cycle on RTC and stuff. But do you feel like it served its purpose during its time?
Businesses evolve, and we're a business. And so we were all scratching our head 7-8 years ago trying to buy these RTC guys or these postgraduate guys and paying them. And some of them didn't even have the daggone qualifications to get paid what they did. But we wanted to have that pretty shiny RTC because it was the thing that was going to assist us most in recruiting, because the blue chip kids wanted to go where you had the blue chip postgraduates. Well, that's still true to a certain point, but I think the value of the RTC guys is just great workout partners. That's why we want them. We want the guys that want to come in and wrestle with our team a lot. So that'll always be our model. And I think that paying guys just to have guys in the RTC is definitely gone away now. And unless all of a sudden they blow up the NIL world, it's going to be that way. And those guys are, unless they're competing at a really, really high level internationally, those guys, their best years right now are going to be the years they're in college.
Think about the landscape of NCAA wrestling, and how many schools do you think just, obviously you can probably only really speak to Iowa State and obviously Virginia Tech since you coach there, but how many schools do you think can actually compete in the NIL space at the level of like championship level of competing?
Good question. The thing I don't like about it, and we're playing it, we got to play I call it the NIL game. We're playing it because if you don't play it, you can't win. I mean, there's always exceptions to the rule, but man, I just don't see. I remember, 10 years ago? I mean, I think Tim Flynn's a great coach. He's at West Virginia now, but he was at Edinburgh and they got third. I mean, that was phenomenal. But to do that even now is going to be like, I don't ever want to say never, but the problem is, a perfect example is Northern Illinois did a really good job this year and got a kid in the podium. And that's a huge feather in the cap for a program that size. I remember the first time we got an All-American back in like 2009 or 2010, it was a big deal for us at Virginia Tech. And so Northern Illinois gets a guy in the portal and boom, 2 weeks later, he's off getting paid to go somewhere else, So that's what I don't like about it right now. But unfortunately, we're forced to play it if we want to compete. And I'd say right now there's maybe 7 or 8 schools that are, all their chips are in, and they actually have chips. If you have 80 coaches in Division I wrestling, all 80 would put their chips in. The problem is only about 8 of them really have chips. And when I say chips, I mean cash to go out and pay those guys. So, you saw the kids the Nagaos and those guys of the world that got in the portal, and they went on visits, and there was only certain schools that brought them in on visits because I'm pretty sure the rest of them decided that there's no need to bring them on a visit because we don't have 6 figures or close to 6 figures to pay this guy.
So what does that look like for a high school recruit? Because I feel like most of the time people hear NIL, they also think portal, so they're thinking transfers, getting guys to transfer ever. But are like the high school kid level, are those people who get in? Obviously with you being a coach,
there's definitely high school kids coming in that are getting more than just scholarship offers. They're having contact with collectives and donor groups and booster groups, and and it's all legal now, and so they can't get paid until they come to campus. At least that's the way we're taught. There's probably people out there paying them already, but they're not supposed to pay them until they actually get to your college campus.
Have you had anybody from Iowa State on our team? Maybe you can't say, or maybe you can. I don't know. But have you had anybody from Iowa State, like any of the schools who are competing with us as far as financially or whatever? Anybody reached out to Iowa State athletes to be like, hey, come over here, we got money?
Well, we had people. We had like 4 or 5 schools reach out to David Carr immediately after the Nationals this year, and offer him lots of money. Okay, with like 3 or 4 days. And it's funny, even David wants to win so bad as a team. David's obviously a great individual, but people probably don't understand how much that guy wants his team to win. Like all he talks about is if you went in our wrestling room and you went in our locker room downstairs, he's got Big 12 champs written everywhere he has for 2 years. So he's super motivated. So I think he thought for a while there, because I wasn't here and I didn't know he was getting hit up right away like he was. So when I got back in town, we had a meeting maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, because after Nationals, everybody kind of goes their own way. And he started telling me about some of this stuff. Well, in the meantime, I had 1 or 2 college coaches reach out to me and say, hey, tell Carr to leave my guy alone. I think David just thought this was like the way it was. So David was reaching out to some of his buddies going, hey, you want to come to Iowa State? And so I don't think he even knew any better. Like, David, you can't do that. You can't, So I had one coach call me up and was upset saying, you got to tell David Carr to quit hitting my guy up. And I go, number 1, I haven't seen David Carr. Number 2, I haven't talked to David Carr. And David's probably just doing it because he doesn't know any better. So when I called David. I said, hey, what's going on? He goes, all these people are calling me, asking me if I want to transfer and offer me this money. And he said, I just figured that why can't we do it, So it's just it's been a crazy offseason.
Gotcha. Yeah. Everybody was saying David Carr, Penn State. I think if that dude even likes a photo of Aaron Brooks, everybody's like, yep, he's going off to Penn State. So you're telling me that there was maybe not Penn State, but there was other schools that were trying to get him.
Well, it's obviously none of the coaches are ever calling the guys, but they're having guys contact them, or they're having their old club coach, or
Allegedly.
I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but there was some very surprising people and surprising dollar offers that David was thrown within 5 days, which
6
blew
figures?
my mind. Oh, 6 figures times more than 2. All right. So there was a lot of big dollar figures thrown at David. And, and this is the first year ever and there's no secret also that there's guys that have done really well at other schools that have basically went to their head coaches and squeezed them. Said, hey, you know what? I got 1 year left. Guess what? I need to get paid. I need to get paid, right? So that's happening right now. And David's never ever once been that guy. But after that whole couple weeks, I said, you know what? We got some people out here that want to help you, probably because they don't want you to leave Iowa State, but more so probably what you can do for Iowa State after the fact. And so I know that the offer that he's going to have to be in the RTC the following year is going to be a good offer because he's just a great recruiter. He's a great ambassador. He's goofy, and he's the right kind of goofy. He really wants to win he's going to jump into coaching like that. I mean, he called me last night. He was flying back from a camp, and he sat by a guy from South Carolina that was an ex-wrestler, and I think the guy was really, really well-to-do. He gave him his business card, and David saw it, and he called me up, and he was like, man, I set up an appointment with this guy, let's get him a T-shirt, let's get him a hat. I mean, he's thinking like a coach and a fundraiser right now. He goes, this guy could really help us out. So he's really invested in just, continuing to help the program.
Wow, that's really mature of him to think of Iowa State instead of being like, hey, this guy wants to give me some money or whatever, right? That's my mindset would have been that.
Yeah.
The big story for Iowa State this past offseason was landing Cody Chittam. Obviously, he spent some time at Iowa, committed to Minnesota before that. And then it seemed like overnight, I don't know if you remember when you went and stole the curtain from Hilton. You stole that curtain. You guys got it out of there.
That was quick. Boom.
Was that the experience that you had getting Chittam overnight, or what happened with all that?
Recruiting is such a funny thing. You can spend, literally, we could start contacting rising juniors just this summer, and now we can see them August 1st, but we could contact them in mid-June. So you think about that. You start recruiting a kid, before his junior year, and he doesn't sign until the season. So you're recruiting a kid for a long darn time, all right? And you can do everything right and still not get the kid. And then something like this happens. And same thing happened with MJ Gaitan. His senior year, he wins a state title. He's committed to go to Cal Baptist. He decides 2 days after the California State Tournament, he's not going to. We recruited him as a junior and didn't get any response. And his senior year, boom, comes out for a visit while we're getting ready to leave for the Big 12 championships. And he's already a senior. So, and within a week, he verbals to come to Iowa State. And I think Cody Chittam's might have been quicker, in that, they really kind of reached out to us. So I think one of his club coaches reached out to Metcalf, and that kind of got the talks going. And when I talked to his father was like, we've studied this guy, we've studied that guy, we've studied this guy. Like they knew the whole middleweight situation at Iowa State. And it's like, he needs to wrestle this guy for this reason. He needs to wrestle this guy for this reason. And I'm like, dude, I'd tell you the same thing. You just took all the words out of my mouth. That's just why he needs to be at Iowa State, because he needs to feel this guy. He needs to feel that guy. He needs to feel this guy, and he needs to feel this guy for these reasons. And he kind of beat me to the punch. So I almost felt like he recruited us as much as we recruited him.
I do want to talk about the middle of our lineup. I feel like we got a lot of guys in the middle that could be starters at Iowa State and could be starters elsewhere. They're that good. Do you feel like you're putting is it going to work out where the red shirts are going to be able to be used so guys aren't going to have to really take a back seat, or what's that look like next year?
We're going to have some decisions to make, from, when we're 41, 49, 57, those three weights are going to be dicey. I mean, and really, I think that's what you want. You want to have good competition, right? And we're going to have some competition there. So, I'm not exactly sure where everybody's going to shake out at. We've got the ability to redshirt Casey Swiderski. We got the ability to redshirt Panero. So we'll see. And, we just got another kid into school here last week named Anthony Ichimendia, who people have heard of. And he did a really good job the last year just getting out of a lot of situations that, when at the end of the day, when the truth came out and everything was on the table, you find out a lot about processes, and I don't think he was given a fair shake. If you would have told me a year ago that I would be an Anthony Echemendia fan, I would have told you to go pound sand. But, the kid paid for school. He worked his butt off to get eligible. He had to get a junior college degree. And when it all got settled, I'm like, man, and then I had bits and pieces to see him train. And like, man, this kid really deserves a chance. So, he could be a factor in there, but we got so many factors in there right now in the middle. It's just a good situation. But, I'm excited for him because I feel like he's triple earned it. But, I tell you, the guys in the room right now are really doing a good job in seeing. And, Casey Swiderski might be the guy that's probably I think we're having a really good summer, but he's really made some steps in the off season. He's really looking good. And, we got a kid named Connor Uten from Ohio that could be a 57, 65, 40. I don't know. He's really had a great summer. So, and we just, everybody knows Kreischer, everybody knows Pinero, everybody knows Redding. I could go on and on, I guess, but those, if I forgot somebody, they're mad at me. But no, there's some really talented guys there. We'll have to figure that out.
Younger up to heavyweight. Talk about that. I remember last year coming down here, and that was maybe talked about, but not really. Didn't really seem like it was just kind of like he's probably going to go to heavyweight eventually. Who made that decision to go up to heavyweight?
Well, he really wanted to go to heavyweight last year at this time. He was weighing about 225, 230, and Sam Schuyler was just doing a great job for us, and I knew he'd do a good job. And in the room, Younger gets the better of just about everybody. Gets the better of Sam, and he could have went, and so I learned a long time ago. But sometimes you get forced into decisions you wonder about. But making a guy go to a weight usually blows up in your face, and that's probably what happened a little bit this year. I wish we had another option, but he did a really good job at the beginning of the year at 197. But then he got a little dinged up. He got a rib thing in late January, and the weight cutting started getting to him. He wasn't able to train like he normally was, and you saw he just had a really bad part of the second year. So it was a no-brainer that he was going to go heavyweight this year, and he's weighing about 235. And he looked really good last summer. I mean, probably in a normal situation, we would have had him go heavyweight last year, but we just needed both those guys in the lineup.
He had the champ beat last year, in that match. He had him beat.
He did, yeah.
Talk about the Cornell duel. That was the best duel of the season so far. First of all, I think that last year was probably the most, I'm not just saying this, but it was the most electric season that I've probably witnessed as a fan. Do you feel that was one of your more electric careers or seasons in your career?
Yeah, there were some great dual meets. We've had some great dual meets the last couple of years. We've just had, the Big 12's got depth, so you're just going to get, when I was in the ACC was just kind of rising as we were rising, so there wasn't like hammer teams at that point. No, they've done a great job. The coaches in the ACC have made that competitive. And NC State and Popalizio were just kind of starting to come on. But we didn't have very many like barn burners because, there wasn't just like, we were kind of above everybody at that time. Well, coming in here, we were the bottom dog for a while. So now we've got Missouri in here, and we got Oklahoma State, and we got UNI. And we just got a really good Big 12 schedule. And I probably forgot somebody. But, and then you go out and wrestle Oklahoma, or you go out and wrestle Cornell, and you wrestle Penn State. It just turned out to be a really good schedule this year. Next year will be too. But that Cornell match was just one of those that you're literally flying by the seat of your pants at the end, and we're pulling guys in the back room going, I think we had a break, and we kind of knew at the break what we were looking at. And after 5 matches, and I'm like, all right, Schuyler can't go. He popped his bicep, and he was out for about 4 weeks, and we knew he wasn't. So I went to Coleman first because he had to go up and wrestle, and he said, hell yeah. He didn't say yeah, he said hell yeah. And I'm like, damn, you're moving up to wrestle a pretty good guy, And he said, hell yeah. And then Younger's like, I don't care, I'll go up and wrestle him. Like Younger's like, so we did some shuffling there with Broderson and Devine, and just worked out. It was one of those deals where, you're either going to look really good or like a complete idiot. It was not one or the other. And so that time we looked really good. Other times we've looked like complete idiots, but that one we looked pretty good.
Was that one for the fans, or was that one for the athletes?
The athletes had a good time. I think all of us had a good time with that one. But, that's just one of those where you kind of steal a win when you don't get, probably nobody thought you were going to get one.
Let's talk about the Iowa duel too. That was another duel that was nuts from top to bottom, beginning to end. We had our fun with it. Yeah, talk about the Iowa duel. What'd you think last year?
Well, again, there's been a couple of those in a row now. So right there. I mean, I think it shows you the. I'll back up a second. It kind of shows you the power of the portal and what a difference a guy like Real Woods made for Iowa this year. I mean, look what he did for him, and he was like the first. He was like the first big name guy that got paid to flip, right? And look what the kind of impact he had on the Iowa. I mean, he made a difference in that dual meet. He made a difference for him at the Nationals. Huge difference. You take his points away, you get 5th or 6th. So. He was a big deal for them. He made a big difference. And that, to me, that was kind of the dual meet too. Is, Casey Swiderski's pretty tough, but Real Woods was tougher that day. And so, I mean, there's a lot of ifs and maybes, but that was kind of the swing match. But yeah, I mean, that's a fun place to wrestle. It's always fun when everybody doesn't like you. There was a lot of dislike that day. So
not me. I was there. I was having fun.
Yeah.
Gable Steveson possibly to Iowa. What's your opinion on that? You think that's going to happen?
Gosh, that's just a soap opera. I don't know. I think Gable's social media reach just continues to go up every time he tweets something right now. From what I'm hearing, that he's got everybody in the fence. So he's got the salesmanship thing. Besides being really damn good,
I can't tell if he's doing a gambling, like not gambling. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. No. I can't tell if he's doing a barter, is this a business move where he's like, all right, let me see who's gonna give me the.
I don't know, but he's got both sides playing against each other. So he's already a marketing master, and he's 23 or 24. So he's already knows how to play that role he's got to play. He'll probably be a good villain in what is it, the WWE, or what do you call him?
Good heel.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be the word.
Okay, so you see, I'm way back in the WWE days.
Yeah, I don't.
I swear I'm not a fan, but I know that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, who knows where he'll end up? I mean, it's just it's going to be a lot of money to pay for. I don't know. I guess I look at it like you know what you're going to get with Gable Steveson and points, but they got a pretty good guy there named Cassioppi too. So do you spend $1 million?
Might have to have David call him up.
Yeah, right. We might have to. David's going to have to hit him up, but I don't know. You spend $1 million on 6 points. Six more points at the Nationals. I don't know.
Yeah, $1 million. That's
for 6 points. You can do the math on that. Maybe 8.
I need his.
I'll tell you what, Cassioppi scores bonus points too.
Yeah, I might need Gable's manager.
He's a pinner. I like that.
Yeah. We did a video about you and Tom Brands last year, and I remember I remember us sending it to you, and you didn't really have a whole lot to say about it. You were just kind of like, yeah, cool, thanks. That was pretty much it. Did you get to watch it?
I did.
Did we do all right?
I can't, to be really honest, I can't remember a lot about it.
Oh, that's a cop-out.
No, I swear.
No, that's a cop-out.
I can't remember. I'm just trying to think.
If you didn't like it, you can tell me.
No.
I'm always going to be an Iowa State fan.
No,
so
I know.
When you're gone, the next guy comes in, I'm still an Iowa State fan.
When you do this, you get the message boards beat me up every day of my life. So
do you read them?
No.
You don't have a pseudonym?
I have one guy that just calls me all the time and tells me about him.
Tiger guy?
I don't have to.
Is it Tiger Guy?
I think that's his name.
Is it actually?
I don't know.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah,
Buff 87 could be me. Could be. I could tell you mine.
So I have a guy that always kind of and I said, you got to quit reading those message boards, dude.
Do you like when they tell you?
And 90% of the time he's wrong, and 10% of the time he's right. So.
Do you like when they tell you this stuff or no?
I don't. It doesn't really bother me.
There was a board that was going after me last year, and somebody sent it to me, and there was too much. There was a lot, and I remember reading it and being like, I'm not.
I'll tell you what. If you sit around and worry about what the message boards say about you, then you're probably going to be out of this business really quick. But I think
the question was, what did you think of that video?
You know what? To be quite honest, I mean, I know there was some. You took it all the way back to the Virginia Tech days, obviously, and that was that. Has been a bone of contention from day one, all right? And I'll just go on record and say that, they had a feeling about how the Metcalf situation was handled, and I had more of a factual, just because my boss said it's going to be this way, right? So my first order, just to back up, my first order when I got to Virginia Tech was stay out of this mess, all right? We'll take care of it. All right, that was the very first thing my AD said to me that was, besides, congratulations, here's how much we're going to pay you. And so from that point on, I was there and asked my opinion every now and then, but I wasn't like, there was what had happened before me getting hired at Virginia Tech was what angered everybody. And do I think to this day, that those guys were told that if Coach Brands left, they could leave? I do. I do think that was said. I really do think that was said. But at the same time, you're dealing with a really, really like irate AD when everybody's pulling out and you spend all that money on all those guys and everybody's pulling their anchor in and heading to Iowa City. That was what was really, really made the athletic director mad. So you know what? The athletic directors are human, and if you pee them off, make them mad enough, they're going to play. ADs have a lot of power. I've always told people, you know what? ADs might have more power than any entity that we have, because if they want to get rid of somebody, they can get rid of them like that. And I could just tell in the voice, and he's passed away, and he did a really good job as an AD for me, but I could tell in the voice of Jim Weaver that very first day, April 14th, 2006, he wasn't messing around. Like with me, he's like, you're out. He was a very kind of a scary guy, and he was like, you're out in terms of this is not you saying your baby no more. So
I got an idea for next year. I don't know if Cyclone Nation you're watching. This has nothing to do with Coach Dresser or I say like we and us, but that's just me being a fan.
Yeah.
So I would say it's not affiliated with this idea. But my idea next year is, because last year, we posted a video. They obviously watched it because afterwards they posted this graphic with all these oranges around, I think Spencer Lee or whatever, right? So my idea for next year, and we can get this going right now, is when they come to town next year, right? It's going to be in Ames.
Yep.
We orange out the
Orange
arena.
out, yeah, there you go. That might be good marketing.
I think that's
That might
not
be
a bad
good
idea. I might
marketing,
have to put something together there.
You talk to my marketing people because they like to sell it out. So
They're going to have to, I need them to, on my behalf, fire some shots back, because I felt like that was like a pretty direct, we saw your video.
Well, we got to beat him before you can fire shots back. That's the best shot you can fire, is just go in, right?
I agree. I was just assuming that we would beat them, and then we.
The funny part of that was, so I remember having a conversation, because when I got hired, I still had a month left of Metcalf and Borchell and all those guys. So I remember bringing Metcalf in. I said, Metcalf, you remember the meeting we had? He goes, a little bit about it, but I was mad, and because I wasn't going to get a go. And I said, I completely understand you wanting to go to Iowa. I completely understand you wanting to be with Tom Brands. He recruited you. That's the way it should be. I said, but I'm just telling you that my AD's telling me that I got to meet with all you guys individually, and I got to tell you that here's the offer. If you stick around 1 year, like Johnny Bonilla Bowman did do that. He was the only guy that took the deal. You stick around 1 year, we'll let you go scot-free. You won't lose a year. It'll be, but you got to stick around 1 year. And I think his mentality was, we just paid for a whole redshirt year for you. So you stick around 1 year, we're square. Right? That was his deal. And of course, Metcalf was just like, he was not a jerk about it, but he was like, well, thanks. I just said, someday you're going to be like 40 years old, and he's 37 now. His birthday was a couple days ago. I go, someday you're going to be 40 years old, and you're going to be sitting in your office chair, and you're going to wonder, was I really smart giving up a whole year of college for a particular coach or coaching staff, And I'd say the same thing to me. Like, I love Gable and I love the coaching staff at Iowa, but to ask me to give a whole year up for Gable, I liked wrestling more than I liked a particular coach. That's nothing against them at all. I had a great experience at Iowa. But that was my advice. And I said, do you remember that conversation? He said, no. I said, well, that's because you were a disciple. And that's what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be a disciple to your coach, but he was.
I asked Metcalf, we did an interview with him before practice earlier today, and I asked him if he had a magic wand and he could make any move, he could either have the current transfer portal rule, where you can just come and go, or would he rather have the NIL opportunities? Which one would he take? Which one do you think he took?
He took the cash.
Nope.
He didn't?
Nope, he took the portal.
What do you
Is he
mean?
lying? You think he's lying?
So
if he would have taken today's portal rule, he could have just been eligible and he would have got all 4 years.
Oh, yeah, okay. Now you say that, Now you say that,
Or would he rather have today's NIL opportunities?
Okay, so you're saying would you like to have that fourth year?
Right.
Okay.
Basically, yeah. And he said because he would have beaten Schlater.
Well, the thing, he's just such a positive, upbeat guy So when I first interviewed him, we threw that out on the table. It's the first thing we said when we talked. And he goes, really after it all got said and done, he goes, I got to go overseas that year. And he said, they put me in some like tournaments and I wrestled Russians and I never beat somebody. He goes, but I was going 1-point match with all these world champs. And he said, when I came back that year to college, he's like, this is a piece of cake. I'm just going to kick everybody's butt. He goes, so, in a weird way, he said the best thing for me was he goes, because I got to wrestle like guys that were 10 times better than college guys, So, that's Brent Metcalf. He's super upbeat, positive guy all the time. He took that situation and just completely flipped it.
All right, we're going to rapid fire here at the end. New rules, you like them, don't like them, 3-point takedown, near falls 2, 3, and 4 points now. What do you think?
The near fall 2, 3, and 4, I just feel bad for the refs because those guys already have a tough enough job. Now you got to get down there and they're gonna hopefully they better just give us 1 brick instead of 5 bricks, or it's going to be a 3-hour dual meet instead of a 2-hour dual meet, because coaches are going to throw the brick all the time on the swipes, because you get a ref, if one ref's out of position for half a second, coaches are going to jump down his throat. They're going to want to review it. It's going to be 2 swipes or 3 swipes or 4 swipes. So that makes it a little bit harder. I'm not saying it's a bad rule, but it's going to be, I just feel bad for the refs. I kind of like the rule.
Have you talked to any officials on what they think so far?
No, I haven't. No. As far as the 3-point takedown, I don't know. What do they say? Winners win. So I think that the winners will still win.
Have you changed the way you coach because of the rules?
Not yet. I think there's going to be there's always an emphasis of, if I take you down, it's 3-0, and we go off the mat with 15 seconds to go in the first period. I think there's a lot of incentive now for me to ride you, maybe a little bit more. I don't know, to end up 3-0 instead of 3-1, because 3-0 is a pretty good lead. So, did we kill the battery here?
No, we're good.
Okay.
That's the memory card.
No,
Okay.
we're good. We still got this one.
Yeah.
So that's the 2 rules that are up for grabs. But I don't know. I know there's a lot of coaches and people probably that are my age and older that are old school, and they think it's stupid. I'm kind of in the middle, like, let's just see what happens. We can always change it back in 2 years. Is it going to make guys change their style? I don't think I would if I was a wrestler. I'm still going to try to go get takedowns.
Lastly here, I want to talk about the collective that you got going on here. Can you tell the people what's going on with the collective? What is a collective? I guess a collective for dummies.
Collective for dummies. Well, there's a Cardinal and Gold collective out there that was set up by some friends of mine, actually up in the Okoboji area. And so it's permissible for us to talk about the collective and to basically help raise money for the collective. But the collective is the entities. Some schools have collectives, some schools don't. Every Division I football program and basketball program that wants to win at any level has a collective right now. They might call it something different, but you can find them. You could Google every one of them, right? Those are the entities that are making deals with kids, okay? And obviously coaches are in the middle directing traffic, so to speak, all right? But these collectives are run by outside people. They have nothing to do with your university. There are no family members. And so those are the entities that everybody's stockpiling right now to have the most firepower. So when the portal opens up, and you're going to have to retain guys too now, because I think, not speaking for Penn State, but they're probably most costly part of the NIL world's retention. Because when you got national champions, those dudes want money. They ain't wrestling for free no more, right? Nobody's wrestling for free no more. If there's one returning NCAA champ that's wrestling for free, I'll bet you there ain't one. Okay? Not one, right? There's something going on. There's something, and I'm not saying in a shady fashion, but they're being compensated somehow, either postgraduate, when they walk off the stage and graduate, or else the collective's taking care of them right now. So, really with us right now is our donors and our alumni and our supporters are more important to us than ever. They really are. They're more important to us that, we've always done a lot of events to raise money for our Cyclone Regional Training Center. But now just getting out in front of the people is even more important, and just educating them about the collective, saying, hey, we got our website now. It's called the Cardinal and Gold Collective. You can get on the website. You can make a donation, and that helps our collective. And our guys have, they've done packed meals for kids in Haiti. spoke to church groups. I mean, the stuff that our guys have done already, there's got to be work done for it, so it's not like free money. But our collective puts together a list of deliverables. So I know they've got to go to Okoboji in June and do 2 or 3 things next June. And there's different parts of the state that they've got to work for their money. But it's pretty good money for the work they're doing.
Cool. Well, Coach, anything else you want to get off your chest while you're here? This is your opportunity. I don't know if anybody else will ask you these kind of questions, but here we are.
I like talking to you guys because you guys seem to like the Cardinal and Gold. I saw your van one day and it was pretty cool. So
yeah,
you deserve it. The VIP treatment.
You still got that shirt somewhere around the house?
Yeah. Yep.
Last chance. Is last chance happening this year?
Yep.
Are the naming rights up for sale?
Then you know what? We need to do a last chance open T-shirt because we've had it the last couple of years. And You know, there's always a couple good guys that show up. I
also know the guy who outed you.
Who outed me?
On the brackets that one year.
That dirty Kerry Cola, wasn't it?
No.
He's the one that tweeted it out, Kerry.
No. I know the guy. I'll tell you off camera.
Okay.
Yeah, his name... Never mind. I'll tell you afterwards.
I would, if I had to do that all over again, I'd still do it the same way, you know.
You didn't do anything wrong.
I didn't know. I didn't break any rules.
No.
They changed the rules the next year, though.
You don't got to tell me. I already know. I'm already in the corner.
Marcus Coleman got famous. He had 4 matches, and he got OW, and he didn't wrestle 1 match.
Honestly, that's an official tournament, right?
Yeah.
That's got to be an NCAA record.
Well, I told you the deal was just that I was on a committee for 2 years, and I kept telling them, you guys need to change the rule. You need to change the rule. Look what's happening. So they didn't change the rule.
It's on them. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Click subscribe. Check out Iowa State Wrestling next year. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to do it. Appreciate you for interview number 3. Hopefully it wasn't the last one.
Nope.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a good summer.
Yep. Thank you.
Good stuff.
Sweet.